Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mowing After Dark here on the College Football Mafia Network. Yes, I know it's 7 p.m. We normally go at 8, but we are in NFL season, so Sunday night football, we want to make sure everybody can get out of here and go watch Sunday night football at kickoff. So we're starting our fall hours again of 7 p.m. Thank you, everybody who has joined us so far. We'll let you guys know that I am here with a guy who is riding a gloat boat.
It was a win without even playing.
My co-host, Rock and Rant. How are you doing today, Rock?
I'm doing good, and thoughts and prayers for all the on-3 hype about DJ Lagway being the number one quarterback in America. I know it's rough. I'm an amateur, and I still got that right.
Yeah, lots of upsets this weekend, lots of blowouts, some huge blowouts. I want to talk a little bit tonight about who I think might be the worst team in the P4. Well, I know who the worst team in the P4 is, but some of these teams just, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said it, like, who do you think had the most disappointing loss yesterday, Rock?
The most I don't know, like, so many great options. How do you choose? I think it's a toss-up. I'm going to say Kansas, and the reason why I'm going to say Kansas because you were up 21-6.
Okay.
Right? It's now, but and it's a rivalry game that hasn't been played enough, right? So it's not guaranteed. But Arizona State would be my flip of a coin. I would come up with the same thing because you actually came back and you went from being ranked as the highest ranked Big 12 team to not being ranked. So I think that's probably my two in terms of impact. I'm sure there's like four others that you could convince me of to go a different direction on.
Yeah, the Kansas-Mizzou game. Obviously, Missouri made good halftime adjustments against Kansas. It was at Mizzou, but you're right. Kansas was a pretty good clip before Missouri came storming back. My most disappointing, and I put it on Twitter, and Virginia Tech fans, you can yell at me all you want. 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. You guys were down 2 scores, and the stadium was nearly empty. Virginia Tech fans just quit on the team, and I frankly don't blame them because that team just quit on the field. They were up at halftime. I think Vanderbilt came out and scored 24 unanswered in the second half.
Something like that.
Yeah, they had more touchdowns than I think first downs for Virginia Tech in the second half. Or something crazy like that. It was awful. And everybody, I know it's only week 2 and everybody's calling for a coach to be fired, but if I'm Virginia Tech, I don't know. It's a bad time to be down.
It is a bad time. It's the wrong timing for that. I think Brent Pry, you can make a case, and I don't know all the financial situations of Virginia Tech. Clearly, could have made a case last year. He should have been gone. It's even worse when you got Shane Beamer down the not that far down the road, so to speak, doing what he's doing at South Carolina. The ties to the program there. You're not developing your quarterback, who a lot of people thinks has the talent, and whether he's not developing it or you're not, either way, it's not really working out, and you're basically ripping apart the fabric of one of the best fan bases with the best stadium experiences in college football over the last 40 years by just, I don't know, incompetence, neglect. I don't even know if it's neglect. So I don't even know if that's the case, but really sad.
And I don't want to take anything away from Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a good team. Well, they're certainly better than the punching bag they used to be in the SEC. But you're up at halftime and you just come out and, apathy. You could see the apathy on the players' faces, the ineptitude in the play calling. Just, I think Virginia Tech had the worst loss. But we'll talk about all the big losses yesterday because there were some big ones. But let's say hello to some people here first. The Big Lubbock was legitimately first this time. Congratulations, Big Lubbock. Bob Swanger's in the house. Penn State Nittany Lion. Oh, a little sloppy there, Bob. And clean some stuff up.
It wasn't even a directional school. It's an international school.
Taylor Mott says, "Go Pokes." There you go. There's a fan. Got blown out. Still got to love your team. Jason Spangler says, "Bills win big." Congratulations to the Buffalo Bills. The Big Lubbock reminds everybody, hit the like button. Yes, please like, share, subscribe, hype. And if you're
hype
to the
channel,
you're
on the rewatch crowd, after this goes off, hit the hype button.
The hype. Let's get that hype going. Or you can support us financially by hitting the cash button and leaving a super chat like our friend Thought Down Hawk. Sad in Jayhawk country, no shocker, three-way, or win. I don't have a sad Jayhawk squawk, but like pretend sad music's playing. Or maybe I'll slow it down one day. I'll take that clip and slow it down so it's just a mournful Jayhawk. But hey, look, it happens. Rivalry games. Get them next time. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Top Town Hawk. FF18 Buff says, "Quite the weekend, boys. Crazy times for all. Sco Buffs, 2 timeouts, and 3 QBs for the win."
Yeah, I got to hear more about what's going on there. I saw that Dion said he knows what he's going to do, but he's clearly not telling anyone. Would it be amazing if the quarterback for Colorado wound up being not the high-profile transfer and not the 5-star, but the guy he already had?
Jason Spangler says, "How did K-State not make the headline?" Jason, character limits, man. Just character limits.
YouTube optimization rules, man. Though you could change it for the Twitter version. You could, we could go into the Twitter version and add it in just to make the Kansas fans feel a little bit better. But can't you just relish in the fact that they are patriotic and giving to our country?
Absolutely. Letting the Army get a win after the Army was upset by our personal team here at the College Football Mafia, Tarleton State. Roll Tide Roll said Mizzou O-line pushed Kansas around. There was a big size differential there.
Definitely showed up in the second half.
Top Town Hawk says, "Moan, you have gone dark in a literal sense. NFL season, Cincinnati Bengals won our first home opener, and I don't remember how long. And we didn't actually win it. The Cleveland Browns lost it. Oh, God bless the Browns. No matter how bad the Bengals do or what stupid thing ownership does, I just thank God I was not born a Cleveland Browns fan."
I mean, it's just like a half gene away, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. And the bad part was there were the Brown Spider and his fiance got married in the parking lot. And that was their honeymoon. Just not good luck for a marriage, I don't think. Coy's here. He says, "Hi all and go Illini." Yes, Illini. Cranking it up.
Man, it's nice to get so many turnovers handed to you. I had PTSD watching that game though, because that looked like the Manny Diaz head coach, not the defensive coordinator that I know and loathed at Miami before he went to Penn State on his recuperation tour.
Yes, despite Nathan criticizing it on Friday night, Brett Bielema has built a legitimate team at Illinois. It is not a flash in the pan. They won 10 games last year, beat South Carolina in the bowl game. And yes, bowl games still matter. And they went down there. They went to Duke, a hostile environment, and they rolled it up on them. And that was my lock of the week. Illinois at giving 2.5, and I think Illinois won by like 26. So
they did. They won. And if you're over and under on turnovers was 3, you were doing good.
Yeah. Big win for the Illini. Roll Tide Roll. Good to see you, Roll Tide Roll. USF has got some serious talent on both sides of the ball. Okay, we'll talk about it. Let's get it out of the way. Florida. Number 13, Florida. Billy Napier finally had his guys. All the positives we heard about Florida going throughout the summer Florida loses to USF at home. Not only that, they lose in Florida fashion. I think we had the cleat eat. You remember the cleat eat from all those years
We
ago
do.
in the fog in the swamp. What are we calling the spit one? The spit hit? I don't know, but to spit in someone's face right in front of a referee, probably not a good idea. I don't know how many penalty yards. I think it was 40 or 45 yards on the last drive that Florida just gave to USF.
It was
put them into field goal range.
It was everything I come to expect of the University of Florida.
Just not a good look. Billy Napier, I don't know when he gets fired. He's not making it through the season. Taking a look at their schedule coming up, the way they played, and I don't want to take anything away from USF. USF
Correct.
is a really good football team, and I think it's going to come down to USF and Tulane on which one of those G5 programs makes it in. And just looking at the schedules earlier today, Tulane and USF don't play each other.
Yeah, they could be on a collision course for the American Conference Championship.
Very well could. So I don't want to take anything away from USF, but you're Florida, you're ranked 13. We've heard all this stuff. DJ Lagway, Billy Napier's finally got his guys. Billy Napier knows how to recruit, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently, Billy Napier forgot how to coach. Just Florida looked ugly in that game.
They were ugly. They had stupid penalties. There was bad calls. And for as wrong as I have been so far on my preseason world of K-State on the Big 12, I have been dead on when it comes to Florida. They were overhyped. The DJ Lagway era of him being the number one quarterback on many people's list was way premature. And they're just not a good team. And I was so excited. I mean, I shouldn't even have bothered telling you, Moen, that the spread on our picks was off because it didn't even matter. Yeah. But when I saw 17.5 the other day after the Boise State game and before this, that was one of the biggest percentages of money, that you'd ever want to bet. You should bet on that one. And Alex Golesh is a really good coach. Byron Brown, it's his second season as quarterback. He's kind of Lenore Sellers light. He's not quite Lenore Sellers, but he's there. And it was also a bad matchup for Florida, in my opinion. It was a bad matchup game for them. I know Miami's playing South Florida. We can get into that later on. But it was, I was surprised that Florida lost, but I was not shocked. And I knew USF was going to cover that game. And I think Florida is going to go into a tailspin. And I think that early, when everybody was hyping them, while their over-under was between 6.5 and 7 games from Vegas, people were not paying attention, and now they're paying attention and see that Vegas is usually not wrong.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to Daniel Kopcha. I think this was the best thing for Miami. One, your rival loses. Two, I don't think Miami's going to look past USF this week.
But see, I know that's the narrative that's out there. I just have to say, Google's your friend, everybody. Miami played USF last year. Same coach, same quarterback at USF with, we all know, one of the worst defenses anyone has ever seen in the P4 and won 50-15. I personally was not worried about this game because I think it's a worse matchup for USF than it is for Florida. I think USF is an excellent team. I think that the line that Vegas has established is basically not a disrespect to USF. It is basically a comment on what Vegas now believes the power ranking of Florida is, which the AP poll then followed suit by pushing them out of the polls. But I definitely don't disagree that it will have more attention for Miami, but it isn't like we didn't play them last year with the same quarterback on the road with a terrible defense and won by 35.
Yeah. But I just don't think you're going to, I think Cristobal is going to be prepared very much for this game.
For sure.
Daniel Gorby's in the house. Florida State fan. How many weeks away?
What is it? It's like 4 weeks away, I believe.
Miami's
got USF. Miami has USF, then Florida, bye week, Florida State, bye week because the ACC sucks, and then 7 straight, including 2 closing out on the road in the cold.
So you've got 3 bye weeks there in a 4-week period.
We have 2 bye weeks in a 4-week period. They're sandwiched around Florida State, and then we have none the rest of the season.
I think that joke went over your head.
It took me a second because I'm still thinking about that. It was supposed to be a ranked on ranked match. I literally believe that Florida lost the game against USF to prevent Miami from having game day.
I still think you might get game day there, but we'll see. Bob Swanger says, Mo and they've been sloppy both games. Hey, Bob, consider yourself lucky, man. This is the year for them to do it because they didn't have to play anybody big P4 out of conference. Got to get that stuff tightened up, though, man. A lot of people got money riding on Penn State as national champions, and they do not look like a national championship squad right now. Kaylani L, good to see you, Kaylani. Hey, Mo, and congrats to you and your Ohio Bobcats. I am not an Ohio Bobcat. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye, but I live down the road from Athens. Was very happy to see them. I heard the partying was going on well into Sunday morning, this morning in Athens. So congratulations to the Bobcats. We'll talk about this game a little bit. I know West Virginia fans are really down on it. Ohio's a good team. MAC champions last year. Yes, West Virginia struggled, but you got to give Ohio some credit for they didn't do much in the second half, but they really didn't need to do a lot. They had the lead, so it was up to West Virginia to do more. And but I don't think West Virginia fans should take this one too badly to heart. Ohio, MAC champion last year, they're probably going to repeat, or they've got a good shot to repeat in the MAC this year. The MAC's still pretty open, but I don't think that was as bad a loss as West Virginia fans were making it out to be.
I just think optics is what they're seeing, right? Everything you're saying makes sense, but if you perceive yourself to be in a certain place, you have those aspirations. That's probably one of those games that if you're a West Virginia fan, and if you acknowledge it was going to be a minute for Rich Rod to do what he needs to do, that would have been one of the ones you probably checked as a possible win. So I understand that, even with what you're saying is true about Ohio.
Absolutely. David Floyd, Big Ten needs to invite Texas Tech ASAP. I'll talk about that a little later this week in a member video. Texas Tech, TCU, and SMU. Stormy Cyclones here. Just a good day for the state of Ohio in general. Good afternoon, guys. Not a good day for our friends in Cleveland. And as soon as the sounder plays.
Come on down to Cleveland town, everyone. Under construction since 1868. See our river that catches on fire. It's so polluted that all our fish have AIDS.
Stephen Vitz in the house. Here's your Ohio Bobcat. He says, happy about our big win versus WVU. Roll Bobbies. Absolutely. Fantastic job. Congratulations to Ohio University. We'll see how well they do this weekend, though. Big matchup, Ohio State versus Ohio U. Another good thing. I don't think Ohio State's going to overlook Ohio. The Architect says the line I rolled. They absolutely did. Nick M says ESPN FPI says Florida will hypothetically win the SEC.
The Southern Educational Conference is what they meant. The Southern Educational Conference said, level 7 high school program in, Topeka.
Roll Tide Roll says USF or Tulane is going to take Big 12 spot. Well, Big 12 gets an auto spot, so somebody from the Big 12 has to go. But it was not a good weekend for the Big 12.
Look, I don't think this is going to happen. But if USF beats Miami, I think it's very possible that when we get towards later in the season, when the decisions are made, maybe Florida's back. I mean, I don't think this is going to happen. But, it's potentially possible that both Florida and Miami are in the top 25. They could have 2 top 25 victories. The way this year is playing out, who knows? Maybe a second team that we don't expect gets in from if they were to be 12-0 and then lose their conference championship game with a couple of maybe 2 or 3 possible top 25 victories. Unlikely, but I think this is just going to be the year when we come to the end of it. Everyone's like, what the hell just happened?
Conundrum mentions that Jed Fish wants the Gator job. I don't know that anybody really wants the Gator job. I've heard some rumors about who Florida may try and get to coach them. Should be interesting if that actually takes place. Looking forward to the future big members. Game of number 5 Miami versus number 10 Florida State. Hey, the way they're dropping, you might move up a couple ranks before it's all said and done.
Yeah, but we will never go to the Big Ten because Xavier Lucas is actually playing games for Miami now. So we will have forever the Xavier Lucas game. I am totally looking forward, though, to my new favorite bowl game coming up very soon, the Wisconsin-Alabama game, which I'm calling the Xavier Horton Bowl, right? Named after Xavier Lucas, who Wisconsin is suing Miami over, and Miami is not suing Alabama because we're not cucks, about Isaiah Horton going to Alabama before his name was really even in the portal. So I will award a trophy to whatever team loses that game.
All I'm going to say is I usually wait until game day to make my parlays. I made my parlay this afternoon because I think that Alabama line is going to move. I think a lot of the lines I jumped on this afternoon are going to move. And I think I got in at 21.5 for Alabama. I think listen, nothing would tickle me more than Wisconsin going to Birmingham. It's an unranked team, which Kalen DeBoer struggles against. And he seems to struggle against unranked teams, but I don't see that happening. I mean, listen, they can't even keep their quarterbacks upright at Wisconsin. Good luck, Badgers, but I picked Alabama. Sorry, Ryan. Hawkeye 16.5, Cyclone 16, big cash payout. I had Iowa State on one of my parlays that didn't hit. USF can lose to Miami and can still be the G6 leader for the CFP. Absolutely. SEC, best conference in America. USF has win over SEC.
Good for USF, man. He's a really good coach. I just wonder how long they can keep him.
Bob Swanger, Moen, they are nowhere near a championship contender. You're right. Right now they are not. Penn State needs to get it together.
I would encourage people to check out the condensed game highlights of not just that game, but also Georgia and also LSU, because they were games that all those schools obviously won big-ish, but they're interesting to watch. They did not have great games against competition you would expect.
Yeah, Penn State's problem was their offensive line has just not looked good. And you've got 5-star quarterback returning. You've got your 2 top running backs returning. And apparently the offensive line just, I don't know if it's a coaching issue or what. Conundrum says Athlon has K-State winning the Big 12 too. Hey, some of us here at the College Football Mafia picked K-State to win the Big 12. Some of us picked Arizona State to win the Big 12. And, both lost this weekend. And, that Arizona State game.
But the plus side is I don't have, Alabama in my college football playoff prediction. So, overall, there's a couple of mistakes there. Clemson's not looking so hot for me right now either, though, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true, too. And I have them playing in a national championship game.
Yeah, for me as well.
USF is going to take the SEC spot. Might. Although Oklahoma did look good against Michigan. When both of them decided they actually wanted to play ball. Moen, do you have any Ryan Day play caller proteges we can hire to run a real offense? That'll bring me up. I just passed it. Terry Fox right here. Toledo will be tough, but Ohio is solid. Jason Candle at Toledo. I've been telling people this for the last 3 years. That is a coaching hire that nobody has made yet. I don't know
Everyone's-
why.
Everyone has tried to poach him to be their high-paid offensive coordinator at a P4. That has happened, but no one has, for whatever reason, bitten the bullet on trying to grab him as a head coach, and I don't know why either.
I don't know why Purdue, when Purdue fired Walters, as they should have, I said, go get Jason Candle, fantastic offensive coach. He knows offense. He can rebuild Purdue into an offensive team. You might have a lot of 55-44 games there, but maybe Purdue will be on the side of that double nickel. But nobody hired Jason Candle. If you can pony up the cash, maybe make him head coach in waiting. Maybe get Jason Candle. Well, Fish is a Gator alum. Just saying, I know that, but boosters at Florida will get their final say. And what some of the boosters are saying is really, in my opinion, ridiculous. But more power to them.
I can see the Gators making the mistake of Jed Fish is a Gators alum, but he sort of feels West Coasty. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. Boosters get their say. Boosters are the ones who are gonna, get their say. Maybe Pitt gets overconfident and West Virginia smacks them, or maybe they don't because I've got Pitt giving 4.5 to West Virginia. Tony Lawson says Bama needs to roll Wisconsin. I can't believe a Minnesota Golden Gopher saying that, Tony. By the way, Tony, I told Greg, Minnesota giving Cal 2.5 at Cal. I think that's a sleeper right there.
Who's giving 2.5 at Cal?
Minnesota's giving 2.5 at Cal right now. If that line moves to like 3.5, I may take Cal on that one. Argro, what more needs to happen for fans of the Big 12 to be in favor of AQs? The conference is so bad. We talked about this a little in our group chat yesterday. Rock, I brought it up that I think this is going to change opinions in Big 12 country. You said it did not change your opinion at all.
It doesn't.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us why. If you're a Big 12 supporter.
Because you cannot continue to be worried about today's money when tomorrow's money and the future can change. And fix your damn programs first and don't get locked into inferiority status. You already have that, and then once it's done, you don't go back up, you go back down. Yesterday, 2 days ago, many experts were talking about how it's very possible that both the ACC and Big 12 could get 2 this year and earn it on the field, right? And then people just blew their games. I don't believe that. I am definitely of the mindset that is a mistake. It's short-term thinking. I think it doesn't pay off. I think it hurts recruiting. I think it hurts a lot of other things. Figure out a way to get your programs better and earn it. That's my opinion. There's literally nothing that will change my mind because I don't really care that. I'm more worried about the perception of recruiting, that your league's inferior, and taking it down a further notch than it already is. Invest in your damn schools, win those games. Don't blow games that you're up 21-6. Don't give a last second field goal or touchdown pass away when you had it up against the second worst team from last year or the worst team from last year because they didn't even win a game in the SEC. Those are controllable things. Those games should have and could have been won theoretically with a little bit more time and effort, in my opinion.
Okay, and there you have it. Bob Swanger says Mo and 7 returning O-linemen, also returning. Of course, it sure doesn't look like it. Yeah, I don't know if it's a coaching problem. They're not motivating these guys or these guys aren't executing, Bob. But listen, I don't care if they're a returning starter or not. The way some of those guys were playing, I'd be benching them. But let a young kid get some reps in there and maybe it lights fire under their ass. I don't know. But, Aller, obviously they're getting paid, but Aller and Singleton and Katron Allen, they all came back to win a championship. And those guys need the offensive line to be a championship level offensive line. Movie Time Blue says the fact that NIL and portal are now in reality should gravitate people towards AQs. Rosters aren't as stable as in the past. Now we do have one portal window until It gets
Lawsuit.
challenged in the court. We'll see how long that lasts. So what if the Big 12 is down this year? Look at the SEC this year. They are down too. That's true. But why the fuck would we want to lock in extra bids for the SEC or Big, even in their down years? Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the SEC is getting 4 in this year anyway, as is the Big 10. The question is going to be which one of them gets 5 in.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I'm not with you on that. It's too early in the season to make that determination. I think the SEC and the Big 10, outside of 1 or 2 teams, are way closer together this year off of 2 games, which we don't know crap. We have people playing directional international schools. We really don't know shit. I thought LSU was the bomb last week and the best team I saw, and I don't know if I believe that after this past week, even though they won. But I tend to think that the SEC is going to be more like the Big 12 and beat the living crap out of each other. And you may be having debates between 3 and 4 lost teams, not 2 and 3 lost teams. I think it's way too early to decide that, personally.
Not everyone is lucky enough to have 2 teams that they can honestly cheer for. I just wish that at least one of mine looked like they'd be national champions. Sometime this decade. If you don't know, Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper is a Nittany Trojan. He is a USC and Penn State alum. I think he got his master's at Penn State or got his postgraduate at Penn State. Or do I have that reversed? Let me know, Troll Grinding Cheek Clapper. But yeah, USC did not look great this weekend either. The Big 12 and ACC already admitted they're less than the P2 by agreeing to accept less playoff money. Recruits won't notice the financial disparity.
Game theory says you don't double down on a bad mistake. They were threatened. They felt the fear. I understand that. Game theory says you don't do that. You lose in the end. And yes, some schools are spending less, but not every school is spending less. And I know someone said, well, if they see you getting less teams in, how about every single day you can say you have, before we even start the season, you have twice a better chance of getting to the playoff if you come to my school because we're already guaranteed at least twice more than you, as opposed to like maybe fate can go up. I mean, this is one of those things like Hatfield and McCoy. People are going to agree and disagree. I think it's ludicrous to make your conference look already worse than it's already been locked into by bad decisions or fear of losing to the other Power 2 who threaten to be crybabies and leave because they're spoiled rotten too.
Popular quote, I have a sign of it somewhere in storage. More is lost by indecision than poor decision. So that's why they agreed to it. I think that's very applicable in this situation, Heartbreak 25, but I'll give you a little Penn State sounder for you here. If you guys are on campus there or anybody's on campus, maybe talk to those OL. Clint Moses says Big 12 should add Army, USF, Ohio, and SMU. Tells you all you need to know. How is Oregon State doing this year, Clint? Because last year you were saying that the Big 12 needed to add Oregon State. I'm just saying, man.
You made Cal feel really happy.
Yeah, you made Cal feel good. Wilcox feels good. Ron Rivera feels good. Will they ever figure out the dysfunction? Probably not. Isaac Harlan says USF is the new Boise State. Need to get a bull sounder on here. Cal looks better than anticipated after losing so many players. Unfortunately, Cal's got a good coach. I just wish they'd let him coach.
I think that the drama is less now than people think it is. I think it was crazy there in the early spring, and I think they've hit detente from people I talked to who have like some degree of connections there. But you know what happens? A really good freshman quarterback cures a lot of ills and complaints.
According to ESPN's FPI, well, if the 5-11 model was here, SEC would have 8 in, 2 buys, and 5 home games. Big would have 4 in, 2 buys with 4 home games. Notre Dame gets a home game. ACC, Big 12, and G5 get one. Florida State's left out. Yeah, football power index.
It's way early. They also 2 weeks ago, Florida State wasn't even receiving votes. It's number 10 in the AP poll. Early, very early.
Yeah, anytime somebody brings up the football power index to me, I tell them it's fantasy and pure imagination. That's what it is. You cannot take because somebody was good last year, they've got good players last year, that those players are going to. Talking about Penn State, the offensive line, all these returning starters are having issues on the offensive line. You cannot go by FPI. FPI is a ridiculous metric made by ESPN to support SEC.
Right. Miami lost their top 6 receivers. Who will catch a ball for them?
That kid looked pretty good catching that one against Notre Dame. Argros says, you know what hurts recruiting? Only getting one team in the playoff every year.
Yep.
Listen, recruiting's about cash now. That's it.
Correct. And by the way, when you're trying to get cash for your program, if everyone knows that your program is not as valuable as everybody else's in your conference because you already told everybody you're only half as good as everyone else, guess what? Your dollar amount goes back down at the conference level as well. So.
Yeah, listen, you know what's going to help recruiting? Texas Tech getting in and winning some games.
Correct.
Big 12 teams winning games. G5 teams, G6 teams winning games. That's what's going to help you most in recruiting. But listen, recruiting anymore is all about the cash. And I want to talk about Oklahoma State because I know a lot of Oklahoma State fans were really down and dejected. And yes, not a fun game. Not a fun game. But listen, Oregon has a $40 million roster. They've overpaid for every player they've got. They've got a 5-star quarterback that had a year at UCLA as a starter, got to sit last season and figure out the system. Coming in there, it's overwhelming. OSU is outmatched in that game. It's not. They could have played a little better, scored a few more points, but they were never going to beat Oregon.
They were never going to beat Oregon, but if Gundy shuts his mouth and doesn't be an idiot, do you think that Lanning isn't like rotating second and third team in sooner, calling different plays? You know, Lanning is an alpha when you come at him that way and they literally played money talks at the end of the game on the PA system. I'm sure that wasn't coincidence.
He said as much after the game. And Dan Lanning's an asshole, and you challenge him to be an asshole, he will be an asshole. But just remember, they were number 1 in the nation last year, went undefeated, Big Ten champions, first year in the conference, and they got blown out in the Rose Bowl by a number 8 seed. Towtown Hawk says, we'll be back in 30. Got to eat real spaghetti chili. I'm telling you, I talked about it yesterday on Bomber's show. He did a little quick show in the afternoon. That is the nastiest shit I have ever eaten in my life. My girl went to UC. She didn't grow up in Cincinnati, though. But she told me that when she was in college, she tried some. She said, I took one bite and spit it out. That is nasty. I don't know how anybody eats that crap. Have you ever had Skyline chili, Rock?
I have not, but I'm very familiar with it. The thing I thought that was the funny part because I was watching is Bomber's apparently never been to a place that sells chili or a Waffle House because the 3-way thing went right over his head.
Yeah. And then he told me that's not like a BYU 3-way, and I didn't push the issue, but I probably could have. Yeah. Eat some real spaghetti. God, I mean, I covered it in sriracha afterwards too. Just could not get rid of the cinnamon. I don't know if people in Cincinnati really enjoy that or they just like screwing with people. But yeah, just don't call it.
Then again,
chili.
I hear about your pizza, so it might be an Ohio thing.
That's
you
not
gotta
my
do
pizza.
stuff.
Not my pizza. That's Ohio Valley pizza. I am a Columbus pizza guy. Give me Columbus style pizza like Donato's. Donato's or Massey's. Romeo's.
I meant like an Ohio thing. There's an Ohio thing with like spaghetti and pizza that some of us don't get.
Well, I can't say anything about that. I do like my spaghetti a little sweeter. Stormy Cyclone says, Moen, did you see what happened? Did you happen to see Portnoy take a couple jabs at Ohio State on Big Noon? Did not. I am not watching Big Noon this year. I'm not watching, outside of watching the Lee Corso last show, I'm not watching College Game Day either. I watch a couple shows online. Like I just don't like the broification of both Fox and ESPN Game Day.
They should just broadcast from somebody's basement each week.
Might as well. And then pay that person $50 million. And I'm not saying that Pat McAfee's a bad guy. Dave Portnoy's a bad guy. But, you know, I don't care for that, that type of broadcasting. Yep, we mentioned that. Conundrum, Iowa State versus Iowa over-under was 43. Under wins again. Absolutely right, Conundrum. If Iowa is playing, bet the under.
It was an immaculate victory for Iowa State. I was completely impressed.
It was. They won with the last-second field goal. It's the most Cy-Hawk thing ever.
The quarterback, the much rumored offense did not exist for Iowa that I was told was going to happen again.
Yeah, again, they had people on Twitter. Somebody was showing videos. Maybe it was CFB Reddit. Its Twitter account was showing videos of people burning Gronowski's Iowa jersey. And it's like, it's not his fault that Iowa just can't coach offense.
Iowa's offense is like a DeLorean for football. He just brings you back in time.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a modern offense, but you know what? They'll win 8 games this year, probably. Broncos won a tough game over the Fighting Cam Wards. He looked good, but looked like a rookie taking a lot of sacks. Well, he probably doesn't have much of an offensive line. That tends to be the case when you're drafted number 1 overall.
There were a few key drops in that game. A few, they're lacking in talent, but I'm not too concerned. You saw the promise there, but they have some work. Also, some stupid penalties. They're trying to get off the field towards the end of the game. They're sacking Nix, and they get a roughing the passer with 2 minutes left. Like, dumb football team and really dumb coach calling plays in their own end zone.
Yeah, you should see the roughing the passer call that Cincinnati got early in that game. Just barely touched Joe Flacco's face mask. And they called it a forcible blow to the head. And, just wasn't good. Steve Moser's here. He's a Jayhawk. UCLA and Northwestern are absolutely horrible. So Big Ten is so bad, or UCLA is hot garbage. UCLA is hot garbage. And they have a $3 million quarterback. I understand you can't just win with just a quarterback. But it's not like UNLV. UNLV has a new head coach. I know they lost a lot of players. They went in the portal. How did UCLA lose to UNLV?
Very effectively.
Yeah, it's inexcusable. I mean, they held, I think, UNLV scoreless in the second half. But they
got down big and then just couldn't come back.
They couldn't come back over 23 points. They couldn't muster it with a $3 million quarterback. I think UCLA is probably the worst team in the Big Ten. I think if UCLA and Northwestern played, I'd probably bet on Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought they were going to take a step up this year just by the nature of him in his second year of the head coach. But, yep, that doesn't look like it's in the cards.
Illini Ted says best thing conferences can do is hope their teams win non-conference games. The Big 12 hasn't been doing enough of that. That is why auto qualifiers help. And then on the flip side, Devil Frog, TCU. Why are Big 10 fans peddling the mythical agreement that was never signed? Brock, you're not a Big 10 fan. yet. So,
what mythical agreement are we referring to? There's so many mythical agreements, like contracts that aren't contracts because no money has been paid.
well, I believe he's talking about your statement that you've already agreed to give the Big Ten and the SEC more money, more sway, because you were frightened of them.
I thought I mean, everything we've heard, including the college football playoff commissioner, said that the Big Ten and the SEC have to agree. That sounds to me like they got the 50% plus one that they need to have control over things. So I don't know how it's mythical if it's being referred to, unless everybody's just really stupid. And hey, I wouldn't put it past conference lawyers to be really stupid. We've seen that time and time again.
Almighty Finn says, "Hey, Rock and Rant, UF might lose 7 games this year. What you think?"
It's not enough.
Very good.
Why so low? Like Almighty Finn, like go for it all. Aspire big.
I think we need to do a poll, and I'm going to put this poll here on YouTube, and I'm going to let this run till the end of the show. I want to know what you guys think the over-under is on Billy Napier. How far does he make it into this season? I think we can agree he's not making it through the season. Let's see. Napier time. Let's start at the 4th game, the 5th game, the 7th game. Or does he make it all the way to 8? I can't see him making it past 8 with the schedule they have coming up, not with the way they're playing. So that poll is live in chat. Let's see what people think. Very interested to see how that. Yeah.
We've got LSU next for them, then Miami, then Texas. So 3 top 7 games. Then number 4 is Texas A&M, a top 15-ish game. Mississippi State, granted that's at Florida, but Mississippi State just did what they did to Arizona State. Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State.
Yeah. Yeah. So
the way this would really go down, that would be the truest Billy Napier fashion, right? Would be to lose to Mississippi State in Gainesville the week of October 18th before an off week before Georgia.
Boy, I don't know if he makes it that far to lose to Mississippi State. I think.
Well, they're not going to do it. It's just the off week one, right? Like if you're going to do it, you think you want to. If you're going to do it in this season, you would think you would do it if you have a strategic bye. That's their strategic bye is October 25th after Mississippi State. I mean, if they lose to the Aggies, you could sit there and say that. What if they lose away at Kentucky November 8th? Before Ole Miss, which is also away. They do end the season with Tennessee and Florida State are both home games for them. I mean, choose your poison. I'd be really sad to see him go. I mean, I think Florida State fans and Miami fans can all say we think that they should extend Billy Napier.
Argraw says Oklahoma State did a good job already to show the difference between Big 12 and Big 10. Might as well take the extra spot. Bad analogy, Argraw. Terrible analogy. The Big Ten has bad teams too. Listen, I think if Oklahoma State played UCLA, I'd put money on Oklahoma State over UCLA. There's bad teams in both conferences. I think it's just a down year for the Pokes. I had expectations that Gundy was going to reclaim some of that spotlight preseason. He clearly cannot. I think this is Gundy's last year at Oklahoma State. And if Oklahoma State's listening to me, Jason Candle at Toledo, he's sitting out there. Grab him. The guy knows how to coach high-powered offenses. When you're losing football games 69-3, that's something you need. So, again, I think it's a bad analogy.
Well, here's the other question I have, I guess, sort of on this, since we're going back and forth with it. All right, Big 12, ACC, whoever, right? You get an extra spot. If those two schools or those two conferences for extra spots are already going to get less money per spot anyway in the playoff, about a $10 million gap. So every time you get one, you get more money, but you get less. If you just keep losing because you're not investing in your programs, to get more people to possibly win deeper into everything, what does that other spot do? So you're giving up X to get like $10 million. And I'm not saying $10 million is nothing. I could use $10 million for sure. But
Sure.
the thing you need to do is get more teams better, get better TV ratings because you have better teams and better games. And then when you get to the playoff, whether it's one or two, or God forbid, we actually have a model where, one day either of those conferences or future conference derivative of the best teams of those two conferences get more, that you get more money and your teams are more competitive. Like right now, the way it looks for some, if they got that second qualifier, are they going to win a game or is just getting another check? Got to win games. You got to get your teams better. All of those conferences need to do that. And I also think we still haven't seen the full effect of the SEC and the Big Ten. We have Nick Saban crying about NIL because Big Ten is getting more players. It's also happening to Texas Tech. It's been happening to Miami and other schools that have been competing that way. Like get more money into more schools in your conferences can compete that way. The way BYU is supposedly trying to invest, right? That's how I think you have to ultimately solve it.
Yeah, you need money. Money makes the world go around. So Moen's suggesting a Texas pod to the Big Ten. You'll have to tune into the members video. Steve Moser says beating the worst team in the league by 66 instead of 36, that big a deal? Seriously, come on now. Yeah, I mean, listen, we mentioned it. Lanning's an asshole, and they just fired him up to be an even bigger asshole.
It's just more fun, Steve.
Yeah.
It's just more fun because you could say you bid it like $1 million a point because the gap is that big between their budgets.
New AP top 25 poll, Ohio State ranked number 1. They beat the brakes off Grambling. Surprise, surprise. Penn State number 2. I was a little surprised by this. LSU still 3. Oregon moves up to number 4. Miami, you're at 5. Georgia at 6. Texas at 7. Notre Dame at 8. Illinois at 9. Florida State at 10. This is where the Big 12 and the ACC have the most issues, I think. There's 3 Big 12 teams on here. There's 1. Let's give them Notre Dame. 2, 3, 4. 4 ACC teams on here. That's the problem right there. You guys got to start knocking off some competition to start climbing in the rankings a little bit.
Well,
I mean, it's Miami's top 5. I mean,
there's 3 ACC teams in the top 12. I think if you go to like the also receiving votes, I think a lot of the next 4 or 5 are both ACC and Big 12. But you can't win either way. If you're Miami, you schedule Florida and Notre Dame. Like, what else are you going to do? You have 2 big ones. Florida State knocks off Alabama. They've done what they need to. Clemson at least scheduled LSU in their matchups. So,
and what is this happy horse shit right here at number 8? Somebody explain to me how Notre Dame is ahead of both Illinois, especially Florida State. How is Notre Dame ahead of Florida State? Florida State has a ranked win over Alabama
because Alabama is no longer ranked.
Oh, either. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm not justifying it. You have to expect when the school isn't even the rankings. I'm actually surprised that they got Florida State where they likely belong so fast after being so wrong, as many were. I'm not acting like I thought Florida State was going to have the sort of performance they did against Alabama, because they did not. But I'm surprised they actually rectified it as much. I don't have a lot to completely complain about here. I don't think, just like people said, you shouldn't have 2 teams in the conference championships. If one loses, then it's not a blowout, fall too far. I think that's what's happening with Notre Dame versus Miami. If you think Miami's a top 5 team, but they have the quote unquote one of the 2 best losses after Texas. The only thing I would have done here, honestly, and it doesn't matter ultimately, Oregon probably should be number 2, in my opinion, because even though they and Penn State have really played nobody, they played a bigger P4 and nobody and blew them out. So in terms of actual games here, LSU I had as like one of the top 2, and I have no problem with them being 2 or 3. They just were not as impressive in their cupcake game. So I didn't have a problem with, for example, Oregon and Georgia flipping spots, because I thought that Oregon did more with their P4 sort of cupcake in the case of Oklahoma State than Georgia did with their actual Group of 5 G6 school.
And by the way, Bama's ranked 19.
Oh, I thought they were.
Nope,
I'm thinking. I'm sorry. I have Florida in my brain. I was thinking about Florida dropping out.
Yeah, Florida's the one that fell out of the rating. Alabama moved into the rankings this week, I think.
I don't think they fell completely. They were like a spot or two behind Florida State. Yeah, my mistake on that one. I'm still laughing at Florida.
Yeah, but this is AP voters. I know most of them don't watch games. They just watch college game day final, look at the highlights, fill in their ballot.
I actually think that they proved that this week, because if you look at the teams that moved up, like relative, who are playing cupcakes, I almost think that Utah moved up further than some others, because I think they moved up like 5 spots, and I think it's delayed effect for everyone. All those writers figuring out how completely trashed Utah treated UCLA the week before. Like it took a minute for that to get to them.
Yeah, listen, I still have issue with Notre Dame at 8. And I'm sorry fighting Irish fans, but Florida State has a win over Alabama, was a ranked team. At the time, I believe they were ranked number 8. They should be in front of Notre Dame. You could make your argument about Illinois. Okay, I'll listen to your argument about Illinois. Illinois has looked very dominant in both their games. Notre Dame, yeah, close game against Miami, but you can't tell me Florida State does not deserve to be ranked in front of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I would have no problem if that flipped. At all.
That I can't, and I'll be honest with you, Clemson did not look great this week either.
They did not. I think they thought they were playing USC instead of actual Troy.
Yeah. I might have issues with Clemson at 12. I think Oklahoma beating Michigan is a big enough statement when to put Oklahoma in front of Clemson. I might even put Iowa State in front of Clemson. It is what it is. Lee's here, another Penn State Nittany Lion. He says the problem with Penn State is they are treating these non-conference games like practices. They played 77 players in the first game, and they played about the same yesterday. Well, when they get into conference play, they better turn it on, because I'm going to tell you what. I don't think it'll be the spoiler makers this year, but I think Michigan State, that kid from Michigan State, the quarterback, Childs. Did you see any of his highlights, Rock?
I watched it. I had it in the top left corner of the Michigan State Boston College game, which was a really good game.
Yes, it was. But he made some, broken plays, tackles and spins, and having 3 defenders chasing him and throwing off his back foot a 50-yard pass. He looked just playmaker now. Michigan State, they might need to go get a defense, but shootouts happen.
Yeah. The only thing I would dispute with Lee on there is a lot of schools like Penn State are playing 65, 77 players right now, especially if you have playoff aspirations, right? Because your true freshmen any redshirt candidates can play 4 games, and they can play every single thing from the bowl on without it impacting them. That has not, unless they rotated in their third string in the first quarter into the second quarter, that still doesn't explain why you're only up 10-0 on FIU early in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's a dangerous game to play. Steve Moser says Oregon got blown out in the first quarter while the entire country was watching the end of Arizona State versus Texas.
Mississippi
Again,
State.
I think that proves everything. You've got to get to the playoffs. Got to get there first.
Oh, you talk about last year. Sorry.
From the last year. Yeah, last year. Got to get to those playoffs. Make a run, man. But Penn State, you got to do it. And it's going to be a tough year in the Big Ten, because we all saw what Oregon did. And I still think Oregon, Ohio State in the championship game. They get Penn State at home this year, but we'll see. Justin R., USF Bull, man, he is happy. Good evening, y'all. Bama fans must have some PTSD dealing any schools with the letter U, S, and F in them. I can't believe the CW will have a rank versus rank game this weekend. Go Bulls. Thank you for that super chat. I don't have USF's fight song on here yet, Justin. I apologize. Probably should have added that after yesterday, but I'll give you a special sound effect here. This is what, they did.
Say my name.
That's what USF did to Florida yesterday.
My favorite moment. Did you
Yeah.
see? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there a moment. Did you see the clip online in the press box after USF won, where the USF coaches are going like hell yeah and celebrating, and to the right of them, there's I don't know if there were coaches, assistants, whatever, but there's Florida Gator guys leaving the booth, but the USF guys are like losing their minds celebrating as they celebrate up in the press box. I thought that was pretty awesome. And I like the pictures. Shout out to the Bulls taking pictures on the field. I love social media. I'm sure that's happened in the past. We know it's happened in the past, but it's great that we get to see it.
Absolutely. Here's also what I think USF was going to say yesterday.
I am the one who knocks.
He is the danger. They are the danger, Florida. Who do you think you're looking at? What do you see in front of you?
Yeah, I do not know the terms of the CW deal. I think that they had to make those calls, X amount of time ago before they saw what USF did. Even if they might have had to make that call, if they didn't do a preseason, they might have had to make that call right after Boise State, but ahead of Florida. So CW, I can't remember. Maybe somebody in the chat remembers a ranked on ranked game on the CW. Look, it's a hell of a lot better than being on the ACC network for your TV ratings. And theoretically, if people can find it on their damn menu, it could be better than even getting an ESPN2 slot. I think people will find that game, but there's a lot of good games this coming weekend. It's one of the better weekends of the season.
Devil Frog says Nick Saban is scared of NILs outside of Alabama. Absolutely right. We talked about it a little on Friday. As soon as Joel Klatt said it a week before, as soon as NIL came out, there was a great leveling in the playing field between the other conferences and the SEC.
When are Saban apologists going to understand that he didn't just randomly decide to have car dealerships under his business models?
When Jimbo Fisher comes out and says, "I know where the bodies are buried," that was very clearly a threat of mutually assured destruction. Paul Lubke, I don't think I've seen you around here before, Paul. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you would, consider giving us a like and a subscribe on YouTube, and also hitting that hype button, that newest button they've added. That helps us out a ton. Welcome. Almost certain Iowa State is probably the poorest NIL team in the top 25. Pretty impressive what they have managed to do. Matt Campbell is an incredible coach.
Culture matters, man.
Yep. 100%. I think that's what Dabo Swinney at Clemson. They haven't looked at recently, but last year with the run they made, I think a lot of that went to Dabo Swinney and culture. But let's take a look here. Yeah. No, I think USF would probably be a little below Iowa State in NIL.
Most likely, yes.
But maybe not. USF, South Florida, lots of money going around there. Ames, Iowa.
But just by nature of their media deal,
Right. Revenue sharing, yes. Iowa State's obviously going to have more in revenue share. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Justin R. If I didn't say that.
They threw a lot of donations into the stadium, too, that USF built.
Woo boy, look at my Knowles at number 10. Your Knowles should be at number 8 or maybe even higher. Tempest. How Notre Dame, and this is why I was saying on Friday, hey, listen, a 3-loss Notre Dame might make the playoffs. That's the bullshit right there that'll make Notre Dame make the playoffs as a 3-loss team.
Swear to God, FSU, man, you guys got to get your drugs right. Like this whole ricochet thing you're doing, it's like coming off of a high, down low, now you're back on a high. I hope you guys just stay freaking relevant and cranking like it seems it's going on.
Who do you have on Domers versus Tamu? I'm going with Tamu. I don't know what the spread is on it.
Yeah, I mean, a spread, I don't know. To win, I don't see Notre Dame losing that game. I think Notre Dame's really good.
That's at South Bend too. So
It is. I don't know what the spread is, but like money line, I feel very confident in Notre Dame. Texas A&M does not look good to me. They've won, but they've won against games they won, and they haven't necessarily looked good. Texas A&M for me is 8-4 till you prove you're not.
I would take Notre Dame giving no more than 2.5. Because I think Carr, I think he is a good quarterback. He's serviceable as a quarterback, but he's young. He could make mistakes, you know.
Yeah, I think
Pick
the Carr is
sixes.
better than people think. He reminded me. I went back and watched it, and this was way throwback, but he reminded me of Ken Dorsey from Miami in 2000. His first game he started was in Washington, and Washington was leading the game. He was able to like almost bring them back, but not quite, and he like got it in the second half. I kind of think that CJ Carr might have got it in the second half. Time will tell. I might look brilliant, or I might look like my K-State pick for the Big 12. We shall see. But I kind of think he might be better than people giving credit to him, and they're dismissing that second half, because I believe ultimately that those two teams are probably two of the top 8 teams in the country from that game.
Okay. Bob Swanger says Penn State and Indy Lions saying this. He says Penn State should be about 5.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter, right? Time's going to take care of it. But if we're just going off of 2 weeks with a little bit of like roster evaluation, yeah, I think Penn State's like a tad bit overrated because they should have just blown out FIU, and there's some questions. Everybody's got questions, though. I don't have one team that I don't think there's questions. I think the spread between number 1 and 10, week 2-ish, 3, with week 0 heading into this next week is far narrower than I thought it would. I think I would have thought last year at this time.
Let's see here. Hummus Hero, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you again, sir. Fellow Buckeye. Utah TTU is shaping up to be a great matchup. You mentioned this in the group chat this weekend. He thinks College Game Day might go there. We'll see. We'll see. I have my doubts, even if it is a ranked matchup. I just don't think they're not. I just don't see ESPN giving the Big 12 all that much love.
I can't see the Big 12. I don't even remember. Does anybody recall if they went to a Big 12 game last year for game day? At some point, they have to give their partner love.
They went
on
to
one week.
Provo. I think they went to Provo last year for a BYU game. I think. I may be mistaken on that. But the Big 12, the problem with the Big 12 is they're so competitive. They cannibalize each other. There's really not, later in the season, there's not a lot of good ranked matchups because everybody's cannibalized everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, they make exceptions. They've gone to smaller schools just to do it, right? They could be a narrative. They could find a heart-wrenching story that they want to do. Like, you can make whatever you want, right? That's game day. You can do whatever you want in a given week.
Speaking of which, BYU's got to figure some stuff out. Beating Stanford 24-0. As bad as Stanford is, and I think Stanford is the worst team in the Power 4. I think UCLA would beat Stanford, but it'd be real close. I also think Stanford might beat UCLA, but it's a bad team, and only scoring 24 points on them. That's not going to get it done, BYU. You're going to have to figure something out on offense. Let's see here. Only got a few more minutes left, guys. I'm trying to get to as many member comments as we can. Absolutely positively have to be read. It will have to be a super chat. Replica says Tennessee shot up the rankings after beating a directional school. A nice bump just in time for the Georgia game. Got to have that quality loss.
Yeah, I think that's just another one of those ones where Tennessee-Syracuse game was overshadowed the previous week, and people probably just paid attention that maybe Tennessee actually has an offense to go along with their defense, but it's Syracuse almost lost to Connecticut at home. Fran Brown does not have the same Syracuse team he had last year.
By the way, if you guys were not listening on Nate's show yesterday, let me explain this parlay I hit and how miraculous this was. I had Syracuse favored by 6.5 at UConn Syracuse was down 12-17 late, scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to go up 3. So I thought, well, Syracuse is going to win and not cover. FU Syracuse. Connecticut, God bless the UConn Huskies. Bless their heart. There was like 30 or 40 seconds left. They got in field goal range, kicked a field goal to send it to overtime. Syracuse scores a touchdown and an extra point in overtime. They hold UConn. Syracuse covers. Leg 3 of that parlay was BYU versus SMU. I had BYU plus getting 2.5 points
Baylor.
from SMU. Or yes, I'm sorry. Baylor at SMU. Baylor was getting 2.5 points from SMU. They were down 14 with like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Came back, tied the game up. Go to double overtime. Go to overtime. SMU, they score a touchdown. Like the first play of overtime, SMU scores a touchdown. I go, crap. Here we go. Next double overtime, SMU misses a field goal. Baylor gets the ball back, protects the ball, scores a field goal. Miraculous 4-leg parlay for close to $200. So God bless the UConn Huskies for taking it to overtime so I could cover. And God bless the Baylor Bears for scoring 14 points at the back 10 of the fourth quarter to take that to overtime and either winning or not losing by more than 3 points. So thank you, Baylor Bears.
Yeah, thanks Baylor Bears for like ruining my 5-team parlay. So Moen took money from my family.
Yes, it was me. It wasn't
100%. It was 100%.
That's one of those great times where I threw my hands up. I was in the group chat. I said, Syracuse, F you. You can't defend anything. How terrible is Syracuse? And God bless them, but God bless UConn more for sending it to overtime. And I'm up for the year. That parlay puts me up for the year. We'll see how many weeks that lasts. USF better than Bama. Conundrum is laughing at that.
USF almost beat Bama.
Yeah, interesting thing I saw on Twitter sphere this week was lady being interviewed in Alabama about the Powerball lottery. She said if she hit, she would pay the $70 million buyout.
She's going to get an NIL deal at least, though.
Notre Dame is favored by 6.5. I still might take Notre Dame on that.
I would take Notre Dame. I would take Notre Dame under
in South Bend. Yeah,
I don't think I'll play that one personally, but I would take it.
Yeah, I've already got a 5-leg parlay set up, so I jumped on it early to get on these early lines that I think are going to move drastically in the other direction. Texas A&M will beat Notre Dame, then lose to Mississippi State and Arkansas. What people don't understand here in Florida, UCF, number 1 in the state and country and student population. UF is 2nd in Florida, and USF is 3. I will say this. There's enough talent in Florida to not only go around in Florida, but to go around in the entire college football world, it seems. Used to be Texas, used to be Ohio, used to be California. It's all about Florida and Georgia now.
Yeah, and UCF has like 547,000 students.
I think I'd probably take Notre Dame at 6.5. Example of NIL and portal hurting. Great receiver Casey Concepcion jumped from North Carolina State to Texas A&M this year, and is a high percentage of A&M big plays. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. That's going to keep happening too.
Yeah, look, the wide receiver that caught that pass in the Miami Notre Dame game had been at Liberty, went to LSU, didn't score 1 touchdown last year. That touchdown plus I think he had 2 yesterday in the cupcake game. So yeah, transfers moving not just from G6 up to P4, but some are going down. We see, people going all sorts of places right now. It's just the depth. The depth is still the issue.
Yeah, listen, this is going to happen a lot more and more often. You're going to get these kids to come into these small schools. You're going to build them up only for a bigger school to come in and wave a little money in their face, and you can't compete with it. So what are you going to do? It's almost like a AAA baseball at this point. So you got to get these kids locked into contracts. This is why we need a collective bargaining agreement. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. We've been on the air for an hour and 15 minutes. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight, all 258 viewers. If you are watching us on Twitter X, please consider, after the show is over, climbing over to YouTube, finding us on Twitter at the CFB Mafia. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. That would help us out tremendously. It helps boost us in the algorithm. You can also make sure you go over and like at CFB, the letter X, PRESS. That is Rock's channel with Miami Flow in general. Definitely check them out. He does some great videos. You definitely have to watch his short from yesterday following the Florida game. That one is must-see TV or YouTube, must-see YT. Definitely you want to check that one out. That is very good. But let me go ahead and pull this up here. It's time for our last call. What's your last call for the week?
I'm just looking forward to a week of everyone talking about Miami and USF and how we're going to get upset. But this weekend I've looked through the entire schedule. On paper, this is probably one of the 3 best weeks of the season in terms of theoretical games. There are a ton of games out there that are interesting. So get rested, get yourself ready, and get ready for a lot of tears next weekend.
Absolutely. And my last call is this. There's going to be a lot of people this weekend saying Ohio State beating up on Ohio, and how dare Ohio State schedule Ohio. 1, Ohio is a good team, defending MAC champion. 3, the Ohio Department of Higher Education mandates Ohio State to rotate and play a smaller in-state school every year in football. It helps those smaller in-state schools fill their coffers and fund their athletic departments.
Absolutely.
Gives a lot of kids scholarship opportunities, a lot of good educations. And by the way, Ohio State scheduled #1 Texas for the first game of the season. So I think that game's actually going to be a little closer than everybody thinks. I still think Ohio State covers, but before everybody runs on Twitter and says Ohio State picking on like they did with Grambling this weekend, yeah, there's reasons it's mandated, and Ohio's a good football team.
Come on, Mo, and they're still going to run on there. Miami played Bethune last week, and everybody's doing that, and the rest of Miami's out-of-conference schedule was Notre Dame, USF, and Florida before we knew Florida was trash.
Absolutely. I know that's going to happen, but just have to say it out loud. I want to thank Tatown Hawk, Heartbreak 25, and our good friend Justin R. Congratulations, Justin R.
Big win, Justin.
USF Bulls. Big win. Made Rock happy. I'm not going to lie. Schadenfreude. I'd love to see Florida down. And has nothing to do with them beating Ohio State in a national championship game twice in the same year. Nothing at all. Oh, got one more from Justin R here. Justin R, the $5 super chat, says, I wouldn't be mad if we lose this weekend. 2-1 is better than 0-3, which most reasonable USF fans thought we would be.
There ain't nothing wrong with the start to your season, whatever happens this coming Saturday.
Absolutely. This one's for you, and then we're going off the air, Justin. Thank you very much.
Well, that changes pretty much fucking everything. Count me in.
That is the USF Bulls. Thank you. You gave me a win in our picks. I took USF. Rock took USF.
So did I.
Everybody else thought Florida was going to cover. But, yeah. So, Thank you, Justin R., for the additional super chat. I want to wish everybody to have a good week. I don't know what Bomber's schedule's like this week. I don't know if he's doing a Tuesday show or a Wednesday show, or I'm doing the Wednesday show this week, so I know he's not doing a Wednesday show. Catch us on Wednesday. It'll be myself, Sergeant Pickles, and Becky Go Huskies doing a new episode of The Take, where we talk about the 10 biggest stories in college football for the week. And then you will see me again after that on Friday at 8 p.m. for the Big Freaking Friday show. Good news is Oklahoma State did not win against Oregon. Ute does not have to try the ass fruit challenge. But at some point, I'm going to get that man to eat a durian live on stream, a live tasting of durian on the Big Freaking Friday show. Keep your fingers crossed. I've just got to figure out how to talk him into it. But we will get there. He will take the ass fruit challenge. For myself, for my friend Rock and Rant, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will catch you next Sunday. Otherwise, go enjoy the NFL game.